Glad that's over.
Now, I do want to say that this is clearly not the fastest that you can kill Abomination. It's nowhere near it, but I thought that it would be fun to make a Fire King build. I've seen a lot of people do like an infinite Firestorm build before, but I thought, why not pair it with Witchfire and just set everything alight? It was actually pretty cool. Probably not the ideal boss to do it on either, but I just thought it was really funny to trap Abomination in the Firestorm while he's rolling and just be able to set him completely ablaze. So, as always, this isn't about trying to get the fastest kill times possible. This is about trying to get some distinct builds and showing off that you can destroy this game with a wide variety of builds of tools that are given to you, be it different guns, mods, mutators, skills, everything really. For my traits, you get Flash Caster for free on Archon, you get Strong Back from Challenger, Fortify, just because I want to be super tanky. I want to be able to take a hit or two if possible in this fight, because it's so easy to die, and this will allow you to survive certain attacks. Invader, to make it easier to dodge. Vigor, because I wanted to be tanky. Spirit, because it's a mod build, so obviously you need your mods up as much as possible. Bark Skin to be tanky, Shade Skin to be tanky, and Siphoner, because if I lose health, I want to be able to regain that health really quickly, and it's really effective when combined with the Relic that I'm using, because it'll allow me to regen the health that the Relic saps away from me. Now for the archetypes and skills, Archon, obviously because it's a mod build, so this is the best mod archetype there is. Wanted in the prime slot as well for the additional mod power per second that it'll give us, and the mod generation that we get once we cast a mod. Use Chaos Gate because it's the damage skill out of the three of these, so we want to do as much damage as we can. Then Challenger in the secondary archetype, which might be a little bit strange because you could go, say, Summoner, but Challenger is really good because it gives you the same damage increase that Summoner would, and it also gives you crit chance by 10%, which is only effective on the Fire Tornado, not effective on the Witchfire, but that's okay. And use Juggernaut as the skill for the 3 stacks of Bulwark, so if we do take a hit, we're more likely to live it, and don't get staggered from it. Also, I wanted to use something a little bit different because I had used the Summoner Archon combo before, so I thought, why not try Challenger? And the crit chance on the Fire Tornado is still really good because it's a little bit of a higher crit chance than what Summoner would give you. So overall, it's actually better provided you can stay within the 10 meters for the fight. For our weapons, mods, and mutators, it's a mod build, so just pick a plus 20 long gun that you can put the mod onto, and the mods are Firestorm and Witchfire. I put it onto the Ford Scattergun just because Ford Scattergun is really nice to be able to shoot, deal a bunch of damage up close, which we're going to be for most of the fight since we are Challenger, and be able to fill that last little bit up of mod power if we need it, and we switch back to it and our mod's not quite up yet, and we attach failsafe to it for 20% additional mod damage and a 15% chance not to consume a charge, so maybe we can shoot off a double fire tornado. And then on the Sure Shot, I put it on Sure Shot. This one really doesn't matter. I don't think I shoot this gun at all, but I put Harmonizer to pair with the Witchfire for the extra 20% damage, as well as 25% additional mod power for the stowed weapon, because Witchfire is almost always going to be up when we switch to it. I don't think I've ever had an issue with that, but Firestorm is not always up, so the 25% additional mod power comes in really clutch. For our Relic, I actually played around with this a little bit, but I found Reprocessed Heart was actually the nicest one, because it converts a bunch of health to gray health, and it gives you mod power for it. And this build is fine once you get a whole bunch of fire going and you become the Fire King, but it's not as good right at the beginning when you're trying to get your first couple rounds of mod swaps going. So this extra bit of mod power, which will only apply to the early parts of the fight, will get you your mods a lot quicker this way. And then for the fragments, mod damage, elemental damage, because those are the only 2 mods that will boost our damage in this case, and it'll boost all of our damage, as well as minus 10% mod cost, just so we can make sure to always have that mod up when we're swapping back and forth between our guns. Here's where it gets a little bit interesting with the rings and amulet. These are the ones I found that gave me the best results, but you can definitely swap some of these around depending on the boss you're doing or the gameplay you're doing, like what world or zone you're in. But I found Talisman of the Sun gave me the best results with the extra burning damage by 50% and fire damage by 20. And then for our first ring, I put in Burden of the Follower because we need mod power regen. Firestorm is a big boy. We need to fill it up with 937 after all of our reductions, which is still a fair bit to do, so we need a lot of mod power regen. Burden of the Destroyer is a 15% increased all damage dealt, just a super solid ring, especially for anything that's not range damage builds. So this is beautiful for mods, for skills, anything like that. 12% mod damage ring, still just more damage that we're trying to put in. And then Singed ring, more damage to burning enemies, and if you do this right, Abomination will not be in the water and then will be burning the whole fight. So this should just be a 10% increase for the whole fight. So I tried messing around with other rings. I tried messing around with Spirit Stone for an extra 10% mod power regen. I tried messing around with Zoe's ring for an extra 15% mod duration. And I tried messing around with the one that gives you a minus 10% mod cost, but I found that just going all damage in the rings worked better for this in particular. I think a lot of the time though, you probably don't want to put most of your rings towards damage and you probably want to put something else, but for this fight specifically, I found this was giving me the best results. I just want to also quickly go over the consumables that I used during this fight because there were a few that I actually haven't pointed out before. So I used Brightstone grenade obviously to get the 10% extra damage, but I also used this concoction to increase mod powered regen by 10% for an hour. You can only have one of these. And I used Fairy's Needle, which lasts 60 seconds and also just gives you a little bit more mod power per second. So I haven't used any of these before, but specifically in this fight I found they were really, really helpful. Now, I'm just going to go over a bit of a fight breakdown, try to show you what I was doing, what I was thinking when I was going through with this. As we run up, we want to do a couple buffs before we start the fight. So first we use the Consumable, which generates 10 mod power a second, and it'll last for a minute, so that'll last the whole fight. That's perfect, so we're good to pop it outside of the fog gate. And then we pop our Relic right before entering 2. And this is because our Relic will give us a bunch of mod power per second, at the cost of sapping our health. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword, but if we do this right, we shouldn't end up getting hit, and we should have enough lifesteal also to combat this once we start to really get our damage rolling. But we need the Relic buff to our mod power at the beginning, because when we have our mods running, and we have like 3 of each up, it's fine. We'll never be short on mod power, but right at the beginning when you're trying to get those first few cycles through, you need something to really spark it up to be able to just swap back and forth between them without needing to shoot. So that's really what this Relic is for, and that's why we pop it at the beginning, because we really only need it at the beginning. At the beginning of the fight, you can see I just run right by him and throw a grenade, because we can't really do any good damage now. I pop Juggernaut, so we're tanky, and then I just immediately start going with the mod swaps. So, shot off a couple rounds, and hopefully the Fire Tornado has him trapped. He'll be trapped if he tries to roll in the Fire Tornado. If he doesn't try to do his roll, where he normally just goes around the arena like a track, he won't be trapped and he can actually get out of it, which sucks. But here, we're lucky we did enough damage for him to try to start his roll, and because he's in the Fire Tornado, we trapped him, and now we can just keep swapping back and forth, shooting if necessary to just get the last bit, and then when we realized, when we fully did trap him, that's when we popped Havoc to be absolutely sure that we could get the max of our damage out of it. Just try to stay in the Havoc, or the Chaos Realm, and just keep laying mods into him until he dies. At this point I realized the grenade effect that I threw at the beginning of the fight had worn off, and I should have thrown this earlier to really maximize my damage. But I threw it close to the end, which is a bit of a mistake. It actually also somehow appears to have missed him. Not sure how that one happened, but oh well, it's not a big loss in the end. only only like 10% extra damage for the second half of that fight. So it's not super important. I'm still really happy with how the fight went. I'd done it times before, and this was by far the fastest time I had gotten, by like 10 seconds. So I know this build wasn't optimal for the Abomination, but it was still really fun to do and just lay a fiery wasteland to this guy. And if you enjoyed seeing this and you look forward to seeing more, it would be great if you would like and subscribe.